لا يزال الخير حيا لا يزال إن في الدنيا سلاما وظلال.
The opposite will happen. So what I'm saying to you is that really and truly, and this is just one example. I mean, I've done
So there's many more.
many examples. So the Prophet, and I've made series about this online as well.
You should call it a prophecy, not a prediction.
I like that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Prophecy. Yeah, I made a series on the prophecies of the Prophet and the Quran. Right, and obviously we believe that the Quran and the Sunnah both come from Allah. Right. So, for instance, things like what lands, yeah, Islam will take over, or the Muslims will inhabit. Yeah. So the Prophet said, and this is in a hadith narrated by Thawban, he said that زُوِيَ لِيَ الْأَرْض, the earth has been projected in front of me. فَرَأَيْتُ مَشَارِقَهَا وَمَغَارِبَهَا, I've seen the eastern parts of it and the western parts of it. Yeah. And وَإِنَّ أُمَّتِي سَيَبْلُغُ مُلْكُهَا, certainly my people will actually possess this area of the world. مَا زُوِيَ لِي مِنْهَا, what I saw from it that was inhabited. Yeah. So in other words, he's saying that the earth was projected for me, and he said that there was going to be eastern and western expansion, and that my people, i.e. the Muslims, would possess this area, what was for me projected. Now obviously the expansion of Islam was westward and eastward. If you look at Saudi Arabia, what's now Saudi Arabia on a map, you'll see that the expansion is literally westward and eastward. And then he becomes very more specific in other hadith. So he tells us, yeah, these are other predictions, right? So the hadith of Umar al-Khattab, where it says that there will be Muslims, there will be Arabs, that they're going to yatatawaluna fil bunyan, that they're going to compete for the high buildings, right? And this is happening today. You know, Burj Khalifa and these things, and
so there's many more. And
yeah,
there's a video. What video?
I've made a video about the prophecies, and even I would go as far as to say that
should I type?
Muhammad Hijab, prophecies of Quran.
Muhammad Hijab.
Yeah, I've put it in a playlist. Yeah.
Of Islam.
Yeah, Quran, Islam, something like that, or the Prophet. I can't remember what I named it, to be honest. But the point is, I went through all of these. There's many of them, right? There's literally dozens of them. Yeah, I think I've been through at least 40 or 50
videos.
Yeah, and all of them, some of them are really interesting, talking about cars in the future, for instance. Yeah, so I would say that they're talking about cars, and this is some scholars of today say he's talking about cars, because the Prophet told us there's going to be a time where people are going to be riding on these things. Yeah.
That's amazing though. How could anyone know that there were cars at that time?
Yeah, and he talked about basically these things that will resemble ships, like Roman ships, that will be gliding on the actual land. Yeah, and inside of them there'll be leather, reclinable seats. Leather. This is exactly the word. Yeah, jild. Leather reclinable seats, and there will be people that will come out of it, women that will have unusual hairstyles, right? That will come out of it outside of the masajid. This is the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, right? And this is all on the thing.
Can you name a few more?
I'll name a few more. So
like the prophecies in the future.
Yeah.
When the Dajjal said about this is Qasr Ahmed, and it wasn't a palace at that time. Now it's just became.
This is good, but I need to look into the asanid of these ones. But the ones I've looked at and I know, for instance, looking at we talked about the country spreading, right? But the Prophet specified very specific things, like for instance,
are there any other technological prophecies?
Yeah, technological ones. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, some people, there's a hadith of, this is really a point of note. Yeah, a hadith that's narrated in Tabarani's book. Yeah, he's got 3 books. I think it's the Kabir one. Yeah, it's the big one. Now this is, to be fair, narrated by Ibn Mas'ud with a sanad daif. Some people say that there's some weakness in the chain, so I have to make that clear. No. Yeah, the waqa yuqawi. Yeah, so you could say that the reality. Some say that Ibn Mas'ud was talking to the Prophet, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said there will be a time where there will be the atbaq. It's going to يتواصل الأطباق. Yeah, and also so what does this mean? It means that this atbaq, and I looked into there's no commentary on this. I tried to find the sharh of this. No, I'm not talking about a commentary of the present day. I'm talking about, I was trying to look for the old school ones, yeah? And I couldn't find any. But here really, atbaq, they're trying to say that it's satellites, yeah? and that they will communicate with each other. But Allahu A'lam. If it means this, I've seen some commentaries say it's talking about there'll be different socio-economic groups and hierarchies, and there will be. But anyways,
it says تتطابق الأطباق وتنقطع الأرحام.
تواصل الأطباق.
يتواصل الأرحام.
ينقطع الأرحام. انقطاع الأرحام is definitely sahih, because it's not just in this hadith. It's strong. انقطاع الأرحام means when people will be basically broken off. And the same hadith, by the way, was talking about the growth of homosexuality. It says ويكتفى الرجل بالرجل والمرأة بالمرأة. So that the man is going to be satisfied with the man, and the woman will be satisfied with the woman. In other words, there won't need to be heterosexuality. They'll be satisfied with a homosexual status quo. In other words, some of them. Yeah. So that's in the same hadith. It's da'if, but it's interesting because that's what it's saying. But then the Prophet said many things about the future, about like what's going to happen to, for example, diseases. It's going to spread because of sexually. He actually mentioned that zina, which is extramarital sex or premarital sex, will increase STDs basically. STDs. And
they are increasing, especially among the homosexual community. There's a high STD rate among the gay man.
It's true. The WHO said that. Yeah, WHO said that. I think it's 15 times more likely. At any rate, I mean,
not likely. They actually have it.
Yeah, that's what they said. But at any rate, it's happening everywhere, right? It's not just with homosexuals. It's happening even with heterosexuals. Yeah. But the reason why is clearly because of hip-hopping around and not committing to certain partners, etc. So that's caused this epidemic, you could say, or pandemic. So these are, it depends, epidemic, because I think it is happening maybe globally now. So these are some of the predictions of the Prophet. Constantinople, which is Istanbul presently, the Prophet said that will be conquered. And if you really think about that, as a standalone thing, it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting because
how could the Prophet Muhammad? It just begs the question. How could he have known that with such a small army, say making a challenge and saying the Muslims will conquer Constantinople? That would be like saying the Muslims will conquer Washington.
Exactly. But even less. It'll be more absurd than that.
A small army of slaves and.
I was actually reading an Orientalist book one time. It's saying that. Because the early Islam was like 30 or 40 people. A lot of these prophecies were done in Mecca. Do you know, in Mecca, the time where the Prophet didn't even have a base. They didn't even live in Medina, So for there to be a band of people, 30, 40, 50 people, and for the leader of those people to predict that I'm going to take over basically the empire of the day, is equivalent to some Eskimos, in maybe Russia or something like that, or near Alaska or something, saying that, I don't think Eskimos live in Alaska, to be fair, but it's saying that we're going to conquer Washington, as you've said. Really is deep. It's deep.
You must definitely have some kind of proof to make such a daring claim.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting because when you look at figures of history that claim to predict the future, Nostradamus, it's really interesting because even W.H. Wells, who was a writer in England, he tried to predict a couple of things. He was living in the Industrial Revolution himself. I think he was born in 1869 or something. If you look at even the Jehovah's Witnesses, they said that there was going to be the end of the world in 1977, and when it didn't happen, they call it the Great Depression. It's very risky doing predicting the future. It's very risky predicting the future. So when we have a range of different prophecies here talking about the future, we would say that this is a strong evidence for the case of Islam. Now, obviously, we would say also the linguistic composition of the Quran, the intertextuality of the Quran, the knitted togetherness of the Quran, the structural coherence of the Quran, all of that also is evidence. But that's just in a nutshell what I would say the evidence of it.
I'll have to look that up. I can't just take your word obviously for it, so I'll have to look that up and see the evidence for it. But like, even just making that claim, like satellites and cars and skyscrapers like those, it just begs the question: how did you know this stuff?
Absolutely. How did he know?
How did you know with such little technology and? What about embryology though? You didn't really.
So embryology. So the Quran mentions stages. The stages of the Quran. So first of all, you have nutfa. okay, you have nutfa. The Quran mentions nutfa, yeah, in many different parts. Nutfa
means embryology.
A sperm drop. No, a sperm drop.
Okay.
So the human being started from a sperm drop.
Yeah.
In chapter 76, verse 2, it says nutfatin amshajin. Yeah, so which means it's intermingled drop. And then when you look at those chapters, those verses that I talked to you about in Surah Al-Mu'minun and in Surah Al-Hajj, it talks about first nutfa, then alaqa, then mudgha, then idam, then fakasawna al-idam al-lahma. And then after that we've clothed the bones with what do you call it? With muscle, you could say. However, this is not necessarily, as I've explained in the video, 100% chronological, so it doesn't necessarily need to be ordered. And there's a hadith of the Prophet, for example, one narrated by Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. Same person has narrated the hadith about the thing, and this is a sahih hadith, authentic. إن أحدكم ليكون في بطن أمه 40 يوما نطفة ثم يكون مضغة بعد ذلك ثم يكون علقة بعد ذلك. That certainly one of you guys is going to be in your mother's womb for 40 days as a nutfa, and then as a alaqa, then as a mudgha. So here
Prophet Muhammad, being an illiterate man, not even like a doctor at that time.
Yeah, exactly. So he couldn't have known these things.
Yeah,
in fact, there's some really interesting things, right? Because there's some other hadith, and this is mentioned in that series I've done, that talk about the gender of the baby being kind of understood at the time of like 40 days as well. So there are some really interesting overlaps between basically what he was said and it's the same kind of thing. A lot of it is the same as what we've discovered today in terms of modern day embryology. You couldn't say there's a major disparity. What you could say,
and we know all of these things with technology.
Yeah, so these things that we know today about embryology is not disparate from that which is mentioned in the Quranic and Hadith discourse in this field. I would say, I would argue in this field it's not. In things like human evolution, the thesis of it or some of the assumptions of it, I would say is disparate. Yeah, but not in this. So this is why I said that if in terms of religion, the closest ancient religion to the scientific discourse of today is Islam. But it cannot be and it shouldn't be a perfect correlation. And had it been a perfect correlation, the fact that science is changing, thank you very much. Huh? Yes, please. Yeah, thank you. It's from McDonald's though, yeah? I don't usually go to McDonald's, you know, just to let you know. But I'm going to drink it because it's good to accept a gift from the brothers. But you know, McDonald's, I don't go there, just to let you guys know. Huh? No, just yeah. So, do you get what I'm saying? So science is changing. There is a changing scientific narrative.
But the scientific things that we observe, like embryology, that's not really going to change.
Well, that could change because actually those things that we observe, like observations and theories, can sometimes, for example, me and you can observe a vase smashing onto the floor.
Yeah.
We can make that same observation, but how we come to actually analyze the reasoning behind it smashing on the floor could be different. That's why you had Newtonian physics, Jazakumullah khairan, and you had Einsteinian physics, both of which were attempts to try and explain the gravitational pull, or in the case of Einstein, pull. But so that's why you have different models, you know, scientific models which can change according to time and place. So I would say that there shouldn't be, and this is why I always do recommend, if not looking at the whole book, just looking at the thesis of Thomas Kuhn, who talked about structures and scientific evolution. Because he talks about how he talks about how science actually sometimes there can be paradigm shifts. He calls them paradigm shifts.
Yeah, but we observe that.
Yeah. So, but generally speaking, I think the case for Islam, if you look at all of the evidences provided, is very, very powerful.
I'll have to look at your video, Muhammad Hijab Prophecies of Islam.
I hope so. I hope so. I've got it on a playlist.
I'll contact you as well if I have like a problem.
I'll give you my number. You got any questions now to ask?
Yeah. Also, some Muslim here say that Muhammad is prophesied in the Bible. Yeah. Is that true?
I would argue that he is prophesied in the Bible. Yeah. Because if you look at Isaiah 42.
Yeah.
For example, looking at that whole chapter, it's talking about people coming to the people of Kedar.
Okay, so can you read that now? Can you read it?
The whole of, okay, I'll tell you what the part is, because there's, like, I think it's about 30 different verses, yeah? But,
do you have internet now on your phone?
Yeah, get someone, can someone get particularly verse 11, because I think that's the most important verse, yeah?
Just read the whole verse and so I can make a judgment.
I think he's right.
When it's still cold, my phone doesn't work.
Right, Isaiah 42.
Isaiah 32 prophesies Muhammad's coming, like an arrival.
42, yeah. And other places, like for example, Isaiah 29:12, yeah? Isaiah 29:12 says that it will be said to him, i.e. this prophet that's going to come in the future, yeah? Read, and he will say, I'm not of the learned, or I cannot read. And this, of course, is the Islamic narrative, that some...
Learned meaning he's illiterate.
Yeah, so I cannot read. So basically in Isaiah 29:12 it says that it will be said to him, read, and he'll say, I cannot read. And this is exactly the story of Prophet Muhammad, because we say that what happened with Prophet Muhammad is that an angel came to him and he revealed to him the message of Islam in a cave called Ghar Hira in present-day Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so he went there to kind of meditate about things, and then an angel came to him to give him the same message that was given to all of those people before. No, not that one. Go to 42, because I've already told you. Yeah, so this is 29:12, just for the camera, for your game. It will be said to him, read this please. He will answer, I don't know how to read. Yeah, this is Isaiah 29:12. Yeah, and this is exactly in correlation with what the Islamic narrative is.
Sorry, brother.
Where he says, Iqra, that the angel says to him, Iqra. And then he says, "Ma ana biqari'in." I'm not of the learned. I cannot read. Sorry, I can't read.
Yeah.
So this exactly is mentioned in Isaiah 29:12. Now looking, because 29:12, Isaiah is a part of the Old Testament, which some say Isaiah himself was a prophet who wrote it. Some say, because I was looking at. Pardon?
Speak up, please.
Speak up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try. Sorry. So
don't worry, bro. You can listen to it on the
online
later. You know? Okay.
Some say that. Did you get it? So, some say in regards to Isaiah 42. Can we get Isaiah 42 out? Yeah. Isaiah 42. If you read it, because this is interesting. If you look at the scholarship, because I looked at the Jewish scholarship and the Christian scholarship on this. Obviously, most Christians say it's Jesus Christ. Yeah. That this person that is talking about is Jesus. Yeah. And Jews say actually it's Isaiah himself, or it's talking about the Messiah at the end of days. Yeah. Alright. So let's read Isaiah 42. It's really interesting. It says, "Hear my servant, whom I uphold, my chosen one, in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will bring justice to the nations." Obviously, here, interesting point is nations, right? Whereas we know from the Deuteronomy discourse that Moses and people like him were sent for their people, the children of Israel, right? So this is talking about someone who comes to an international people. Yeah. He will not shout or cry out or raise his voice in the streets. And this is interesting because the Prophet gave that exact advice, and that advice is given in the Quran. Don't shout too much, because the worst of voices is the braying of the horses. Yeah. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. In faithfulness he will bring forth justice. He will not falter or be discouraged till he establishes justice on earth. So once again, talking about the international message, because on earth, it's talking about the whole earth, right? And he's teaching the islands, once again more than one island, will put their hope. This is what God, the Lord, says. The creator of the heavens, who stretches them out, who spreads out the earth with all that springs from it, who gives breath to its people, and life to those who walk on it. I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness. I will take hold of your hand. I will keep you and will make you to be a covenant for the people and a light for the Gentiles. Now, it's really interesting now, because Jesus in Matthew's and I think Mark as well says, do not go in the way of the Gentiles. Well, I was only sent for the lost sheep of Israel. For a Christian now, they can't make the claim that this is talking about Jesus for one reason, this one reason, yeah? But let's continue reading. It says, to open the eyes that are blind. By the way, there's a verse in chapter 7 of the Quran, verse 157. Do you know what it says? It says, الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر. The ones that follow, so the Jews and Christians that follow the prophet, the illiterate one, so that they find written in their Torah and the Injil, يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر ويحل لهم الطيبات ويحرم عليهم الخبائث, that he makes halal for them. In other words, he tells them about that which is permissible and he tells them that which is bad for you. ويضع عنهم أسرهم والأغلال التي كانت عليهم. Yeah.
صراحة I don't.
Yes. والأغلال التي كانت عليهم. And he unties for them. Yeah. The locks that they were entrapped in. In other words, it's figurative that they will be freed by his message, right? But listen to what it says here. And release them from the dungeons, those who sit in darkness. Now the dungeon here, so the Quran says in chapter 7 verse 157 that they'll be freed from the prisons, or they'll be freed from their chains. Here it's saying about this prophet that they will be released from their dungeons. So in other words, they'll be made free. The same message is being given exactly. This is Isaiah 42. It says, I am the Lord, that is my name. I will not yield my glory to another, or praise to idols. See the former things that have taken place, and the things I declare, before they spring into being, I announce them to you. Now listen to this is the part here. Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the ends of the earth. You who go down to the sea and all that is in it. You islands, and who live in them. Let the wilderness and its towns raise their voice. Let the settlements where Kedar lives rejoice. Now Kedar is the Arabs, according to the biblical narrative. Now there's no difference of opinion now among the biblical scholars that Kedar refers to Arab people. Okay. Now clearly, and Kedar in itself is the Arabian Peninsula. Yeah? So here really and truly the question is, how could we say that this is Jesus, right? It couldn't be Jesus because he didn't come to the Arabs. And he didn't come to people of Kedar, did he?
Yeah.
Right?
Came to the lost sheep of Israel.
So let the people of Sela sing for joy. Now Sela is very specific because Sela, you can see here, is actually a mountain range, a mountain range in Medina. Until this day, there are actually mountains in Medina called Sala.
That was the old name of Sala, right? Mountain range, that's the old name.
Yes, okay. And that's why in Hebrew, this is what it's called, Sala, yeah? Okay. Now also what's interesting is that in the book of Psalms, you'll find Sala being mentioned as well.
Yeah.
And in the book of Psalms in the Bible, it refers to Sala in conjunction with pilgrimage. And we know that the house of Abraham was in Mecca, according to the Quranic narrative. Yeah. And in the same book of Psalms, it talks about Becca, which is another name for Mecca. And the Quran mentions Mecca and Becca in conjunction with each other.
Yeah. Do you have any video regarding this matter? Like
I had a discussion with a Jewish man.
A full video?
Yeah, with a Jewish man about this. Okay. He had a red beard. He was a Zionist. He called himself a Zionist. And so I had a discussion with him. We had two discussions. One was about Palestine, Israel, and this, that. And this one was another one. So we had that discussion. But the point is this, like a warrior, he will stir up his zeal. Now, we know Jesus wasn't a warrior. That's what Christians love to tell us. So, okay, you want to say he was a warrior, like a warrior, yeah? With a shout, he will raise the battle cry. So there will be some kind of battle that will be happening. And we know that that definitely happened historically. There was battles between Muslims and non-Muslims. And he will triumph over his enemies. And this is a prophecy in the Bible, yeah? Talking about the Prophet Muhammad. And no one can deny that he triumphed over his enemies. No one can deny that he took over the Arabian Peninsula. No one can deny that. And that's why Islam was able to spread in the way it did. For a long time I've kept silent. I've been quiet and held myself back. But now, like a woman in childbirth, I'll cry out, I gasp and pant. I will lay waste the mountains and hills and dry up their vegetation. I will turn rivers into islands and dry up the pools, etc., etc. Yeah, but it's interesting, yeah, because I will not forsake. At the end, it says, I will not forsake them. But those who trust in idols, who say to images, "You are gods," will be turned back in utter shame. And obviously, we know when the Prophet went into Mecca, he turned all the idols upside down. He broke them all, and he brought Tawheed. He brought Tawheed forward, which is monotheism. Whose is this? I don't see how this can apply to anyone except for the Prophet Muhammad.
Obviously, so when it refers to the Arabian Peninsula,
there's no other person that came to the Arabian Peninsula, to that region of the Arabian Peninsula, that claimed to be a prophet, that triumphed over his enemies, that claimed to spread justice, and to, in the minds of many millions, did spread justice and fulfills this prophecy. So this is extra Quranic information, because here we're coming out of the Quran, but it fulfills the meta-narrative, because the meta-narrative is that the Quranic meta-narrative is that the previous dispensations, like the Torah and the Injil, which is the Gospels, They were revealed, but then they were corrupted. But that you can find still now things within those books which indicate to the forthcoming of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That's why it says يَجِدُونَهُ مَكْتُوبًا عِنْدَهُمْ فِي التَّوْرَاةِ وَالْإِنْجِيلِ. They find him now. You can find him now. Yeah, يَجِدُونَهُ in Arabic is like present day.
Yeah.
It's مضارع, فعل مضارع, which means it's present tense form of the verb. They find him in their Torah and their Injil. Even now they find him in those books. Yeah. يَأْمُرُهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ يَنْهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. So here, the point is that the evidences are quite overwhelming when you look at it from that perspective. And they're not just Quranic evidences. If you look at the whole corpus, we feel like there's a strong case throughout. Any questions on that?
Is there another verse regarding Kedar? I think there's another verse as well.
There is. I think there are many verses regarding Kedar. I think there's some in Genesis even that talk about basically Ismail being the progeny of Ismail being the people of Kedar. Ismail obviously being one of the sons of Abraham, Ishmael, and his people being the Arabs. So it indicates that, and that's why the biblical scholars have taken that out and have said that, okay, that means it's the Arabs of the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah.
What's the verse you said in the Bible where they mentioned Medina Salah?
Which one, sorry?
The one that mentions the mountains that are carved out of rocks in Medina. Salih, the Medina Salih.
Yeah, Salah. Yeah, so this is mentioned Isaiah 42. Yeah, so if you go like verses 11, 12, 13, you'll see the mountains of Salah mentioned.
I think there's another verse in the Bible as well where it says Muhammad is gonna migrate to another city. But I forgot what verse.
Yeah, so have I need to look into that myself.
Not everyone understands that.
It could be. I don't know. I have to look into that.
It's gonna migrate to Yathrib or something.
Yathrib is the name of Medina. Like it was the name of Medina before it changed into being Medina.
Yeah. There's one verse like that as well.
Yeah, we'll try and look for it. Maybe someone here knows. Adnan is quite good with these things, so if we find him, we can ask him. Is Adnan here?
Praying, isn't it?
Is he there today?
Praying, yeah.
Alright, we'll ask him.
Yeah.
Adnan is good with this kind of biblical stuff. Anything else?
Because Kalam was in one of the videos, he was challenging the prophecy about Muhammad in the Bible. He was saying the Prophet Muhammad does not belong to Kedar's progeny. Is that true?
Well, no, because as we said, he's now.
Kedar is
We have the exact lineage of Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
But the truth is, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, now some people link it all the way back to Kedar. The truth, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah mentions in a book of his that the highest we have is Adnan. Adnan is the name of the highest person we have in the lineage of Prophet Muhammad. But we know that Prophet Muhammad goes all the way back to Ismail. We know that. But we know, in terms of what we know for sure, we know the progeny from Adnan, this man called Adnan, up until the Prophet Muhammad, which is, we're talking about 20 names between.
Yeah. I'd like to ask him as well, Adnan,
yeah, for sure.
about this.
His name is Adnan, yeah, sorry. It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's Adnan. Not this Adnan, I'm talking about Adnan, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Do you know about Jabal al-Lurs in Saudi Arabia? Apparently it's the real Mount Sinai. Have you ever heard about that?
No, I haven't.
It's a theory. I've heard some Jewish scholars. They went there and they said like on the top of the mountain is black. They said that's where the lightning struck.
No, I've not seen that.
Check it out. Jabal al-Lurs in Saudi Arabia is the real Mount Sinai.
But the brother here, I'm giving him priority because he's inquiring about Islam. If there's anything more you want me to answer.
No, I think what you said is enough.
Yeah?
I'll have to just research it.
Research it more and come to me inshallah and ask me any questions.
Yeah,
maybe not next week, the week after that. Yeah? I might not be here next week.
Where are you going?
I don't know, I'll have to keep that off air. Otherwise we'll find
You're
something.
going to join ISIS.
Astaghfirullah.
I'm joking.
Anyways, it was a pleasure talking to you, man.
I'm joking.
Yeah, I know.